Hello, hello. Let's see what's happening. Hello, hello. Good morning, Jason. Can you hear me, mate?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? No sound. Oh, there's always going to be some technical difficulties. Trying to connect with a load of people that you care about that are waiting for you on Zoom, and it's not quite working. Let me try again. No. Oh, it's so annoying. Come on. Okay. Not the slickest moment right now. Let's see. Come on, just work, machine. Be nice. Just work. Make sure I've got everything up. The problem with the computer audio needs a restart. Okay. This is an example of a really bad live, just so you know, folks. This is not how to do it. I am having some technical difficulties, which is frustrating because I've got some great people online this morning I want to talk to and want their insights to share with you. So I'm trying to restart my computer, but of course it won't let me do it. Okay, this is frustrating. Okay, I wonder if I can get my technical assistant in to help me right now, because I can't. Come on. What am I trying to do? I tried to shut the computer down, but it won't let me close Adobe. Okay, guys, I'm going to shut off for a minute. I have to come back. So it's kind of scary, but business-wise, how are things? Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you. I think there is, like all entrepreneurs, sometimes in awful situations that we all find ourselves in that no one wants to be in, there are some opportunities. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely in one of those spaces. I'm just going live on YouTube now, by the way. So just so you know, I'm just sharing some insights from people like you. And so yeah, so we're going live. But I'd love to hear, what you see opportunity-wise, maybe what you know what you're doing to take advantage of it, perhaps. Can you, of course not. Mm. And do you think that well, I mean, everyone's on a different timeline, right, as far as when they're going to come out the other end of this. But you know, what are you doing to kind of plan ahead? What's your strategy for, you know, let's assume we come out of this. Mm. True. Oh well. Alex, I've got some problem with my mic, so my folks on YouTube can't hear what you're saying, and it's frustrating because, as always, you're sharing amazing knowledge and insights. So what I might do is I'm just gonna restart this. Okay? Do you mind, Alex? Maybe you haven't got time to come back. Don't feel obliged. Okay? I know you're a busy man, but at least I get to see your face and check in. But I'm just gonna have to restart the computer, I think, because people on YouTube can't hear a single thing I'm saying. So what a thing you're saying, which is a shame. So I'm going to restart, mate, okay? But join if you've got time, but don't feel obliged, because I know how busy you are. Should be about 2 minutes, hopefully. Thanks, buddy. All right, see you soon, huh?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hi guys, I'm very sorry that I'm having some technical difficulties getting the sound on for my guests this morning, which is frustrating because they're basically sharing some fantastic insights. But you know, while I've got you guys all on, how are you all? I'm going to perhaps invite you all to the Zoom. Maybe that's the other way to do it. But I can't. Frustratingly, I can't get the Zoom to work through the podcast machine, which ensures you guys can hear. But anyway, it's Sunday morning, and I like to work Sunday mornings. In a way, this is work, sorting out technical difficulties. But if you guys have questions, I'm reading the chat. Feel free to ask. Some good friends on here. Hi Dirk. Hi Nicholas. Hey Phil, it's been a long time, man. Nice to see you. Thanks so much. Mike, don't think we've spoken before, but nice to see you on. Thanks for joining, mate. So you guys feel free to ask me questions and I will answer them while I try to figure out how to get my Zoom conference call hooked into the YouTube, because I think people I'm having on this morning are very interesting and you guys will enjoy connecting. So I just had Alex on a minute ago. He runs a fantastic business that basically aggregates and communicates survey related ads. His big client is Google. Frankly, he's a genius. He's also an investor in many startups. Really interesting individual, and I'm trying again to get it working. I guess this is the problem with the new technology, but how are you guys all doing? Everybody good? I can just talk while trying to get into this, but it's been a very busy week. Lots of exciting things going on. I think I broke through my 500 members on YouTube, which is exciting. I've got 6,000 people that have signed up to get my newsletters now online, which is also very exciting. So it seems like people need help to get going and start a business. So that's the thing I'm going to focus on for a little while. I want to help anybody out there who wants to start a business get going. So Nicholas, if you're listening, you're a good example. You've got an entrepreneur's brain, entrepreneur's mindset, and I know you've got huge potential to be a very talented entrepreneur, and I want to help you do that. It helps that your dad is my best friend. So but it's funny now, I feel like there's a whole new generation of friends that I'm getting thanks to the friends I had before, like Dirk's children are now my friends, great kids. He's done a great job bringing those kids up, and now they're also my friends. So that's kind of one of the wonderful things again about getting a little bit older. You get a whole new generation of friends, which is really nice. It's yeah, I think when you're getting older, there's some downsides, and you know your body starts to ache a little bit, and I have to do a lot more exercise for a little bit of gain than I used to, but I can't eat as much without getting into trouble. But the benefits are that you get a whole new series of wonderful friends with the new generation coming through. So that's pretty exciting. But how are you guys all doing this morning? This wonderful Sunday morning in London. I don't know where you all are, but in London right now we've had glorious weather. It's been beautiful sunshine, and so now I'm getting a bit addicted. It feels like summer has started, and we're not allowed to go outside. Well, except for a little bit of exercise, but you know, generally we're not allowed to go outside. So that means we hang about in the house. I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of garden, so that really helps, I think. So here we go. I am back on Zoom, trying to get the sound working. It's going through the, how about built-in microphone, internal, same as system. Let me see, I can do select same as system microphone, Rodecaster Pro, which is actually what I'm trying to do here. Maybe, let's see if I do this, if it makes any difference. Audio help. See if this works. So guys, while I'm trying to figure out how this all works, I don't know why it does that. It goes, technology can be a little bit frustrating. I can't get it to install. So you guys are seeing me under pressure right now, trying to get the microphone working on with Zoom. And what I might have to do is just go back to the old system, which was working fine, just not brilliant volume. Let's see if it makes any difference. Can you hear me? Unmute all. Okay. Well, this might be, as far as having a guest on is concerned. So yeah, you're getting a funny, yeah, I think the sound system, I'm trying to employ the podcaster machine for the sound. I think I've been too ambitious. So another way to go is try and stop it all. Let's do that. So let's turn off this, let's see what happens. Okay. Let's see. Hello. I think, okay, so we've got that going. Let's see what's happening on me there. Okay, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Let's see. Yes. Okay, I think I might have it working, folks. I had to go back to the old system, so no. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Podcasting machine. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Let's see. All right. Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, mate. I think I finally got it working. How are you doing?
Nice. I'm doing really well, thank you.
Good. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. And I've got another friend joining actually. Martin's going to join. So part of my reason for wanting to do these calls, Alex, is it's not only to grab your knowledge, which you've already shared. Thanks for that. I also want to introduce a few of my network, and as well as connect with friends. I'm trying to every morning just reconnect with people, and I'm trying to use all the technology out there to do it, because I'm finding, although there's more time in the day, it seems like actually connecting with people is a little bit harder. So let's bring Martin into the room.
Sounds good.
And I'm trying to also, some people in my network, I wonder who they are, what they're about. So I've actually sent out an email to a few people I have on my LinkedIn, but I don't necessarily know them. So I'm just trying to connect with people that in my network. So you know Alex very well. We've all met thousands of people in our careers. On my LinkedIn, I've got nearly 15,000 contacts, and I was just thinking the other day that I don't know half of them. I feel like I've met them once, and my brain, as I'm getting old, I forget who these folks are. So part of me wants to reconnect with those folks too. So I'm sure you've got the same. I can't imagine your contact base, because you work so hard. You must have.
Exactly the same situation. Yeah, I'm struggling to remember who you met where, especially in the crypto world, when people connect just because they have 500 or 1,000 connections in common. They just connect to each other.
Yeah.
And you never meet these people actually. Just know that they exist somewhere there. So it's a good idea to reconnect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of speaking events, and what I found doing those speaking events as well is that people connect you on LinkedIn. So there's even cases where you haven't even actually met them. You've just they connected with you after an event you've spoken at, and you like their profile. Like me, for example, I tend to always accept anyone that's doing a startup. Anyone that says I'm doing a startup and they want some help. I met you at an event. Is there any connection at all? I tend to just say yes. Jump on. How can I help? And then later I'm like, okay, I've got 15,000 contacts. I think if I look through them, I can identify at least 1,000 people that I definitely know somehow. But 15,000, no, and that frustrates me because you also don't reach those people when you do a post. The algorithm doesn't allow you to reach them all, right?
Right. We need different layers at LinkedIn, like real connections versus somewhat connections, but no connection. And
that's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
That's a feature they need badly, like a few tiers.
I think we just came up with a startup idea.
Yes. Well, a couple of people try to create LinkedIn 2.0, but it's just very hard to take on them because it's so big. Right. I'm really used to them. But I know a couple of people. One Finnish guy, by the way, Mikko, he's brilliant. He tried to do something like this. Create a real business network. So not only they can connect to people, but they actually generate leads, they have probability and close deals. So turn it to real tool, not just HR, but the actual business tool.
Yeah, I'm also trying, I'm trying another way, which I think is a hack for what you're talking about, which is I'm sending small groups of people on my LinkedIn a message saying, come on to a Zoom and have a chat, and so it's interesting, of course, different time zones, different people get the message at different times, So, but it's been interesting. I've been doing it for the last week, just inviting people on, and it's been amazing. There's some people that know me really well, and I don't know them at all. And there's other times I've forgotten. And suddenly, in part of my brain, I suddenly remember who they are, and like, why haven't I spoken to you in 3 years? But that's what LinkedIn's lacking. Like you say, it's just that it's a great tool, but thanks to the algorithm now, you don't reach everyone, and so I'd rather reach everyone. The people that don't want to connect with me anymore, delete me. If people aren't interested in startups, they're not interested in helping startups, they're not, maybe I'm not that interesting, so they, just delete me. But I don't want to delete them unless I know that they're not interested in what I'm interested in. You know what I mean? Like, so it's definitely a funny one. Yeah, I do think we've just come up with an idea that someone needs to do around fixing LinkedIn. But I don't see LinkedIn doing it. They seem just bogged down with trying to be Facebook. They're trying to create a news feed system, right? So.
Absolutely. Very little innovation and kind of back and forth on certain features. Yeah, it's such a huge asset that they don't monetize well.
Yeah, and it's just not a tool that really they think about the user anymore, right? It's all about the algorithm that restricts the amount of information it gets to your contacts so that they can eventually monetize, I think, more. They're monetizing quite well at LinkedIn already, but
Right, exactly.
But
and even for HR, they don't work for small startups because if I want to hire somebody, I always go to AngelList and I find real entrepreneurs and people that willing to work on startups. LinkedIn usually is corporations, right? And people that really have big appetite but not necessarily enough skills, and for entrepreneurs, it's not the right place.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's what I tried to do with Meta. In a way, Meta was kind of going back. It was an offline LinkedIn, which now sounds like an incredibly bad idea, considering. But conceptually, I think that human connection where I bump into you and you say, "Hey, I'm leaving Cisco and I'm starting my own startup." That's not on LinkedIn. Like people don't broadcast these things until they feel they're allowed to or it's the right time. But they will tell a friend or acquaintance that can help them. Which that's another nuance that's lacking in LinkedIn. Like I spoke to someone yesterday on Zoom who basically hasn't updated their LinkedIn in 6 months, and they're working on a cool new startup. But it's kind of fascinating how LinkedIn is supposed to be this business connector, keeps you up to date with your business contacts, but in fact, it's because it's so public in a way. People don't share it. So there's a real gap there, isn't there? The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, wow, there's a real gap there. But that's what Meta was meant to do. Meta was meant to be that handshake moment or that passing each other in the coffee shop moment. where you kind of like tell each other the truth about what's happening and then see how you can help each other.
Right. Which is a huge part of Silicon Valley culture. When you meet people at meetups or coffee shops or just randomly at some events, and they have immediately some conversation, which are opportunistic both ways. People always like test it quickly, right? I can be helpful to this person, or this person can be helpful to me. So the meta idea is brilliant, actually. It's not your fault that coronavirus happened, right? But the meetup combined with some of these new ideas might be a really good alternative to LinkedIn eventually.
Yeah, it actually worked really well in Hong Kong, and we opened up in Nairobi. And it worked really well in Hong Kong in particular because technology. See, this is what we're talking about, right? This is what we're talking about, right, Alex? This is the problem. You know, you have all this tech, but then you know, then it all freezes up on you.
But it's okay. We're back, and Martin and I would continue conversation.
Oh, you and Martin had a chat, did you?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Martin. How are you?
Yeah, fine. From sort of sunny Hong Kong.
Oh, right. You know, I always feel bad asking this, Martin. How do we know each other? I know you're going to tell me, and I'm going to I should know that. But how do we know each other?
I'm ex-ACC.
Right. Okay. And what are you doing these days?
Recovering. I'm on the road of recovering from PTSD.
Okay.
But since leaving the Army Catering Corps, I started a little cooking business in Hong Kong. Because I didn't speak Cantonese, my qualifications and experience was good, but needed to speak Cantonese. So what I decided to do was start up a small business, going into people's houses and teaching them how to cook in their own kitchens.
Right, okay.
It took 2 weeks. All I did was I started off by making up some A5 flyers, going into domestic employment agencies, leaving a few flyers there, so the maids could take the flyers back to their employers. And within 2 weeks, it hit the newspapers, and I had a 6-month waiting list.
Wow, good for you. I actually think there's a big gap in that too. I mean, like, even in England, people just don't know how to cook.
Well,
so used to ordering in now.
Well, the important thing is that people of our age group, we grew up standing next to our mums or our nans when they were cooking. And that's in some people it lit a passion, which it did for me, and for other people it just gave them the basic survival skills. But as you said, nowadays, especially in a place like Hong Kong, where the normal business day is so hectic, people will pick up a lunchbox, well, they call it a lunchbox here, they pick up a takeout and take it home. Or they have a domestic helper who will cook food for them. Now, most of the domestic helpers can cook Filipino food and Chinese food. But when it comes to English, German, French, Spanish, they don't have a clue. And one of the biggest, I've got to be careful how I say this, one of the biggest challenges I find with a lot of these super fantastic chefs who write cookbooks is, unfortunately, they use everyday cooking terms. And Filipinos and Indonesians, etc., don't realize that sauté, bechamel, velouté, these are French terms. So when they go into a supermarket and they want a blanche or they want a sauté, the supermarket doesn't know what they're talking about, and they say, oh, we're out of stock. But it's just simple cooking, methods of cooking. So most of my work was involved in translating French into English or physically showing what that various thing was. So that was good fun, but unfortunately, when you have a 6-month waiting list, and there's not many people in Hong Kong that have got the experience of working in different kitchens, from big kitchens to small kitchens and being able to be adaptable, I was just overwhelmed with work. So I slowly turned that down into more of a hobby now.
Well,
But,
I mean, that's an entrepreneurial opportunity, isn't it, though? I mean, when you've got a waiting list, like what you've done there, Martin, is you've identified a huge gap in the market.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I think that's a big gap here in the UK too.
Well, there's that one. But like I said, because the speed of life in Hong Kong, 6 months might as well be 4 or 5 years. If people they saw a newspaper article after 2 weeks that I started this, it was in the newspapers, and that night I had, like I said, 6 months bookings, and as I was going through them, first come first serve sort of rule, then people were saying, what, I've got to wait 6 months for this? So what they were doing was they started sending their domestic helpers, their maids, to cooking schools. And the only drawback with the cooking schools were they provided every single state-of-the-art kitchen equipment needed to learn. But when the maids went back to their employers' houses, they didn't have every single modern-day kitchen appliance. So the employers thought the maids were either messing around or were absolutely stupid. And you cannot learn anything in a school and take it back and do it immediately at home if you don't have the equipment, if you don't have some background. And a good example, you can go to Oxford University, learn how to strip a car down, because they give you all the tools, they give you the different types of cars, they give you the experienced instructors. But when you go back home to try and do it with your own car, you don't have half of the equipment. So does that mean that you are a stupid student, or you have learned in such a perfect environment, but you don't have the background knowledge to adapt stuff? And when it comes to cooking, for example, one novel trick that I like to show how you can adapt things is making pop-up pizza out of a pop-up toaster oven. And they say it can't be done, but all you do, you make your coffee in the morning, put it on the table, you put a dinner plate next to your coffee cup, you put your toaster oven next to the plate, you put some butter on the bread, you add a little bit of ketchup, a little bit ham, cheese, whatever, you lay the toaster oven on its side, and as you slide the handle in, you slide the bread into the pop-up toaster. You start watching the morning news, and as soon as the toast is ready, it shoots out, hits the cup, falls on the plate, and you've got pizza delivered to you in front of you.
Martin, I've just seen a very big viral video in my mind pop out from that idea, and you're a very interesting chap. I mean, anyone, my community on social right now are going a little bit crazy about you. They love you. I think you sound English, but you're living in Hong Kong, so people are confused. That where are you? Martin's in Hong Kong, and so you sound very English. People are like, oh, is he an English guy talking about maids and so on? But Martin, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
So your business that you're talking about, which I think is a really interesting, what you've done there fascinates me, because on a micro level, you've kind of proved a huge need. I actually think right now the need for people to get training in cooking food at home is really big. And the other interesting thing about this is there's a load of really talented chefs right now that can't go into their restaurants and cook because they can't have customers. So in England, every single restaurant is shut down, for example. That's a huge amount of talent. Now, whether or not there's a thing around people going into someone's home and, the distancing issue and so on, but, as things loosen up, maybe there's an opportunity to put those chefs to work. Even if you do a Zoom training, cooking via Zoom, for example.
Well, the thing is, there are a few companies that do actually, you can phone them up and you can book a chef to come in and cook a meal for you in your house for a party. Now, that is a good idea, but what I've been doing is, as a simple example, teaching three-hour lessons, and those lessons cover, when you go shopping, how to look for good quality meat, good quality fish, etc., and take those ingredients from the supermarket into the kitchen. And because for example, you know your kitchen, but I know how to take your kitchen beyond its capabilities. So then we cover things like, for example, the most common food poisoning, for example, is not normally from the meat or fish. Most food poisoning actually comes from the vegetables. And why? Because lots of people don't realize, if you cut meat up on a chopping board, the bacteria in that meat takes a much higher temperature and a longer cooking time to kill it. So people will normally cut up the meat first because that takes the longest to cook. Then they prepare the vegetables on the chopping board. Vegetables take a less amount of heat and a less cooking time. So the bacteria from the meat or the fish or the poultry has been transferred to the vegetables, and it has not been killed in the cooking process. So what I've been doing is teaching knife skills, teaching people that they cut, because in a domestic kitchen they don't have all of these color-coded knives, chopping boards, etc. I've taught them to prepare the vegetables first, then the meats, because bacterium from mushrooms, etc., if they are transferred to a meat or poultry, they're going to be in the oven so long, or they're going to be pan fried so long, or they're going to be pot roasted so long that the germs on the vegetable will be killed. So there are, having chefs go in and prepare a meal for 20 people as a party, that's good. But the people are not learning how from those chefs. They're just saying, come into the kitchen, that's what I want you to use, this is the number of people I want you to cook for, and then they go out and socialize. So I'm teaching people not only how to buy the ingredient, prepare the ingredient, serve the ingredients, but also how to mix up the recipes that they've learned, so they've actually got a lot more opportunity. They're also learning the basic culinary terms, knife skills, food, health and safety methods. Many people don't realize that in the fridge, if you go into your fridge right now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if you find that you've got some meat on the top shelf, some milk on in the doorway, and fruits and vegetables in the bottom tray. The tray should be for the meat. Why? Because if the raw meat on the top shelf for some reason drops blood, it's going to contaminate everything in that fridge. But if you put the raw meat in the tray, if there is any blood, the tray is going to catch it. The tray is not going to let the blood drip out onto the floor.
Martin, you're absolutely amazing. I have never thought about that, and this is why I'm so happy to be connected with people that are on my LinkedIn but I've never spoken to, because you just taught me a few things there. I have for my whole life kept my fruit and veg in my tray at the bottom of my fridge, and today I'm going to change that. I'm going to put my meat in there. That makes total sense. And again, I see you're very you're very marketable. You know, my background is marketing. So I always think, you know, to get a business to be successful, marketing is key. You're very good. Of course, you've already got more business you can handle for your newspaper article before, but you know, that is another excellent potential viral video you just talked about this. And I think fridge companies should share it. Because I think fridge companies are at fault there, because they're the ones that do the pictures of the fridge open with the fruit and veg in the bottom tray. And it absolutely doesn't make sense. I mean, I know myself, I had a chicken in the fridge the other day that leaked probably onto all my fruit and veg. So, you know.
You see, what would normally happen is if you bought some fresh fish from a fishmonger, you put it on a plate, you leave it in the fridge covered, that fish is going to drip. Now, as it drips, it goes down onto your fruit and vegetables, and when you take them out, all you do with the fruit and vegetables is you wash them. Then you prepare them as normal. But again, the bacteria takes more heat, it takes longer to cook, it takes more to kill it. But they're treating the vegetable as wash, so they think it's okay. So there's lots of little things. Another stupid idea is that people buy the bananas, as an example, and they wonder why the bananas go brown so quickly. They change colour, and they think they can't use them. Well, firstly, if they do go brown, you can use them to make banana bread, or you can mash them up and put them into a basic Victoria sponge mix and make a banana cake. Or you can use it as a filling inside a Victoria sponge. But to make bananas last longer, all you have to do is take a small amount of baking foil, or as they call it in America, aluminum foil, and put it over the knuckle where all the bananas join. Now, when the bananas are on the tree, they're in a bunch, they cut that bunch down. Where they've made that cut, that is basically cutting off the end of your finger. So now the end of your finger is an open wound and blood is going to come out. Well, with the bananas, if you cover up that open wound with a bit of baking foil, a little bit of cling film, and an elastic band, the bananas will stay fresh and longer. So it's just things that I have learned from many, many, many chefs throughout the years. You can't learn these sort of things in cookbooks because
well, maybe you should do a real life cookbook, you know, because you're talking about real life experiences, not translated. I'm sure Jamie Oliver's never had to figure out how to make a pizza, but without the equipment right to hand. I mean, you've highlighted something else there that's fascinating. That, you know, I know in Hong Kong for sure, because I also lived there for 20 years. That kitchens are small and people don't have all the appliances. The hack that you just came up with to create a pizza from your pop-up toaster is just brilliant. But look, I want to, I've got a few people waiting in the waiting room, Martin, and I want to go back to Alex for a second. I guess what I find exciting about this sort of moment, for me anyway, is that, you know, I reach out to my network. We've got Alex, who's this incredible entrepreneur based in Silicon Valley with a huge business, investor in startups, and sharing his knowledge this morning. And then I've got Martin, who, I don't know, Martin, how long ago we first met, but I'm going to say a long time ago, and you're sharing some amazing insights to how you try to get your business up and running. And I love your insights on how you try to get your business up and running, and the insights about things like the fridge, just mind-blowing. But I want to bring Alex back into the conversation for a second. First of all, Alex, are you going to move your fruit and veg up and your meat down?
Yes, absolutely. And Martin, thank you for your wisdom. I was listening very carefully, so that's what we should do.
So Alex, why don't you share a little bit with Martin what you do?
Yeah, we're providing tools to get people's opinion on anything in a very timely manner. And especially now that everybody is online and people look at it for information, we allow people to have a voice. And it's a great thing to have for publishers that publish their articles, so they can hear back opinion from their readers. It's great for advertisers because they get some intelligence to position their advertising better. And it's also very good for people because they get opportunity to speak up and also participate and get incentives for what they do online. It's like I call it triangle between publishers, advertisers, and audiences. We give the tool that serves all of them. Unlike Facebook and Google, we want to give people something back for what they do online, which is very high demand right now.
But funnily enough, Google in the past, one of your clients, and Indian Times paper, right?
That's really funny. Exactly. Because Google, when they do studies, they do some researches, like the one we did for them was how regulations affect investment decisions. They cannot use their own tools by the law, right? Because it will be biased. If the company wants to do the study, they have to use an independent company. And one of our advisors in San Francisco, they brought Google as a paying customer for these 2 studies. So indeed, we did some really interesting study for them. That was a good part of Google, not the advertising folks. The advertising, I think it's just such a monster that they're not really helping the progress. They're actually like causing more damage to the industry and to the people than doing any good. Because I think monopolies are bad in general. And Facebook and Google, this is like old stuff that has to be replaced. And that's why I'm a big fan of Web 3.0, decentralization, blockchain, giving incentives back to people instead of using people as sensors just to make money on them. I think the internet we live in right now is unfair and not efficient and way too centralized. So we are part of what I call Web 3.0 movement. When people online, they actually own their data eventually. Not today, it's going to take some time and effort. But once they own their data, they become a part of the marketplace and they can benefit from it. That's one of our visions.
It's interesting you say, well, first of all, Web 3.0 feels like Web 8.0 right now. But it's interesting. You're in Silicon Valley, and you're in the kind of the heart of all this innovation. I feel like Silicon Valley is split into 2 because you just said something interesting there, where you're basically talking about moral code and ethics and how monopolies are bad. Yet, if you read Peter Thiel's book, he talks about how monopolies are good. As an investor, he invests in businesses that can be monopolistic, that can control things. So it seems like one side of the equation in places like Silicon Valley, I want to say evil, but that's probably a bit unfair. But they want monopolies. They want the opposite to what you just said. Whereas you're trying to decentralize. You're the other side of the equation where you don't think monopolies are good. The data is owned by you. And so who's going to win that war?
Well, that's a very good point because yes, indeed, there are different points of view. Mark, I'll let you.
Well, actually, listen, guys. Listen, guys. I invited someone else to join us. I've never actually met this guy, but he's been talking to me about his business idea, and so I thought it'd be nice if you just jumped in and shared his business idea, and then we can go back to a round table. But he's waiting in the waiting room. I've got a few people waiting there, so let him in. Hopefully. Nick, you're not a nutter, I hope. I'm going to let you in, hopefully. Let's see, you won't know until we join. But welcome. I'm excited because I've got Martin in Hong Kong and Alex in Silicon Valley. And Nick, welcome.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, son.
How you doing? We finally connect.
Hey, buddy, I got you. I just had you on a pocket call there. I'm thinking, I wonder if he's online, but nice to see you. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
All right, pal. Ibiza is, sun shining. We're in the Mediterranean, so no complaints.
You're in the Mediterranean?
I'm in Ibiza, yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Oh, okay. I've got Alex on, entrepreneur from Silicon Valley, a good friend of mine. I invested in his company. Very talented individual, and I've got Martin on, someone I'm reacquainting with. I've reached out to some of my contacts on LinkedIn recently, trying to figure out who they are and how I can help. And Martin's based in Hong Kong, and just been telling us some fascinating insights about his own entrepreneurial journey and businesses he's been building up. He just taught us a brilliant thing, side point, that you should keep all your meat in the bottom of the fridge and all your fruit and veg above it. So just a little lesson there, Nick. But what about you, Nick? Tell us about you. What's going on?
I've been on a journey the last 10 years doing environmental awareness and environmental restoration. Started in Phuket, went to India to start an Indian Ocean cleanup. I got engaged with plastics and worked with 40 scientists in the UK to develop plastics protocols around the world. That led into community building with our organization Earth 5R in Mumbai, which I do strategy for. We're a volunteer organization. About 50,000 volunteers around the world. and we're currently in over 50 countries. We've refocused everything that we've been doing and learning the last 3 years to now just completing a COVID training program about self-awareness, self-sufficiency, and the first step on the journey of change that everybody's making. And we are having that signed off by the Chief Medical Officer of India tomorrow. And with that, we're launching in, we expect, an initial 50 countries. So we're keeping pretty busy.
And is Be First in lockdown too? What's the status in that part of the world?
Yes, we've just been told today that actually kids, as of today, are allowed out with parents for 1 hour a day. So that's the first sort of easing that we've had. And they announced last night that on the 2nd of May, adults will be able to also then go outside to exercise and social distance. So next Sunday, it sounds like we're allowed out of the house for really the first time. And I went into early isolation in early February. I saw what was happening in China. So I've been in for a while.
Wow.
But
I wish you were in charge of government. That would have been good.
There's been no new cases here, and the islands are well under control. So we're quite blessed.
And business-wise, how has it affected you? What's the plan?
Well, we've been, as a volunteer organisation, really financed by myself and Sodab, the founder of this organisation in Mumbai. And we've been doing a little bit of cash raising along the way, selling products that we get made in the community. We do some CSR training. We do some tech work for organizations similarly. And that's been quite good. Last year, we spent the year developing government programs. We made a bit of a switch. So we spent a year working with the French government, for example, on cleaning Paris, starting with the 11th district, which is 140,000 people. But in all the countries where we're working with governments, despite getting their ear and their support, getting financing and getting approval processes has been a real nightmare. So, it's been a very slow process. And so we've kind of, I wouldn't say wasted a year, but we did spend a year or so working with UN, UNEP, OECD, President Macron, Brazil, etc. But the progress was unbelievably slow. So that's where we're sort of refocusing a little bit and going back to the core, which is individual teaching and training, and scaling that up.
Well, Nick, we've been trying to talk for a while. Is there anything I or my friends on this call can do to help you? What's going on?
Yeah, we have a couple of things. Perhaps the COVID training, which we're doing, which is for anybody, is something that the listeners and your partners may be interested to take a look at and consider how they can implement that through their network. It's personally, it's at home, it's their neighborhood, it's their business, it's their employees, it's their employees' families. So there's that sort of process that we can support with a training program. Right. We developed last year a program called the Global Sustainability Hub to be the sort of piggy in the middle between governments, NGOs, between universities and schools, and between private businesses and communities, to be the interface to localize environmental restoration. And that's an area that we can then tackle businesses to help them with CSR, to build community change programs, and to pull members together. So that's another program that this COVID training will lead into: awareness, self-sufficiency, ability to create community programs, and as you like to focus on the creation of purpose, which I fully agree with and believe. I think without the purpose, you're in a position where you're wallowing in either somebody else's ideas or dreams, or you're delusional, or you're highly indebted and you have to do what you have to do. Or the system doesn't work, and if you want to do as I've been doing, an environment volunteer for 10 years, I'm lucky enough that I can support myself but for many people, doing social work and doing environmental volunteering would be a dream job. So that's an area where, today, 35% of the planet is effectively unpaid. 25% of the planet is effectively working remotely as an entrepreneur. Only about 25% of the planet's employed in necessary services, the military, the police, the hospitals, the essential services, and about 25% of the planet is in managerial roles. So you've got a situation where with 35% unemployed, Plus, there's a large percentage, perhaps 10% of the world, that are in prisons, are in refugee camps. You know, they're the sort of lowest rung in terms of they don't have income, they don't have any support, and they don't have any system. So there's a big percentage of the planet today that's like a loose leaf and is about to be blown in any direction. Give them purpose, give them the ability to believe in self, to be able to provide for self, and therefore take care of other people, is the step-by-step process to get people engaged, and then being able to live by purpose, create by purpose, and have a livelihood by purpose.
I like it a lot, Nick. If people listening want to connect with you and help, what's the way to, what's your website?
Earth5r.org.
Earth5r.
Yes.
.com?
.org.
Okay, all right, good. I'll pin that in the comments later and make sure that people.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll send you the link also for the Global Sustainability Hub, which is our connecting program. Everything we do is effectively online leadership training. So we've been doing individual programs around the world now for 5 years, and as good a successes as we've had, there's still a real issue in scale. Now, of course, to create a program that has the capacity, we're aiming to have an impact on 2 billion people by 2025. That's where we're aiming for. Now, the reality is to do a tech program that can handle that sort of volume to be scalable is effectively creating Facebook. And that's $1 billion investment, and and all the complexities that go with that. So we're trying to be smart about using tech, but not relying on tech, on training people that are both digital and analog, and having a program that can work in the direction of bottom up from community and top down with government, business, NGO, university and school support. So it's kind of bottom up and top down.
How did you get involved in all this?
I was doing it in Phuket just by necessity, sitting at the beach and having plastic every day. I've been if you will, an environmentalist since I was about 15. I've been in the mountains forever. My dad took me up Snowdon when I was about 1.5 or 2 years old in a papoose. Wow.
I've got a 2.5-year-old, so I can't get him to go in the garden sometimes. So it's your dad deserves a medal.
And fill me up with those clear what do they call them? The sugar bars, the old mountaineering food.
Yeah.
And off we'd go. So it's always been in my blood. And then in Phuket, particularly fighting this plastic issue, it just became too big a job. You know, we were getting 20, 30 bags a day coming off one beach. And in Phuket, we had 20 kilometers of coastline of beaches. So the ability for one man to do that was impossible. So I realized that we needed to build a community program. So I started in Phuket. It became successful. I, over 2 years, wrote a sustainability plan for the government with the IUCN and some other groups. That became kind of the protocol for the Phuket government in environmental restoration and its own planning for tourism. We totally and radically changed Phuket quickly. There were 500 restaurants and bars knocked down from all the beaches. We cleared all the beaches on Phuket of commerce and umbrellas. And within 2 years, dolphins, turtles came back. The coral reef started growing. The eagles and the owls came back. And it was environmentally a huge success. And we were lucky that the governor, I worked with 5 governors in Phuket, but the last governor that I worked with on that program went to work with the Prime Minister in Bangkok. And he was then able to develop it as a Thai program. And I kind of felt, not that my work was done in Phuket, but the first stage had been successful. And my garbage on Phuket mostly was Thai. We were lucky. It was 95% Thai garbage. But there was a day coming when one day I was going to wake up and all the garbage was going to come from India. And the day that happened, the ocean's dead, Phuket's dead, you know, there's just no chance of fixing it. So I felt ambitious and thought, right, if I can make it work on a small island, can it work in a big city? So I went to Mumbai to try and clean the city. And I just got lucky there. They were ready for change. The landfills were full. They'd been landfilling since 1948 and had 250 acres of landfill, 10,000 tons of garbage a day, and they were at crisis point. And for them to be able to ship by truck 10,000 tons of garbage a day off Mumbai, the island, which was a 5-hour round trip, suddenly became uneconomic, and it's just not feasible. So they were forced with the reality that they had to change the system radically, quickly, and immediately. And I just happened to walk in the door as they were deliberating what they were going to do, and Mumbai has changed. Mumbai has become a much better city. And then the journey from there was really President Macron came to Mumbai, saw the changes directly. I said, this is unbelievable. How did you change it since last time I was here? And we were pointed as one of the groups that were engaged with the government in helping them and delivering a strategy. And that was how we got engaged with Macron and Paris and the EU and OECD and et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I preach these days about how important it is to do stuff with purpose. And I think you basically personify that, Nick. So thank you for cleaning up our planet. Thank you so much.
Due to the hard work of our volunteers. I'm a lucky guy just sitting here in the sun. There's a lot of other people in tougher places than me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes everyone to make a movement like that work. Like you say, a whole team of you, but still, you know, one person at a time making a difference. That's amazing. So I put your link to what you're doing in the broadcasters. A lot of people are actually asking about the COVID training piece. Maybe you could quickly explain that. What's that about?
Yes, we've always been teaching self-sufficiency. And with self-sufficiency comes an understanding of food, of water, of clothing, of shelter, of transportation, leading a better life with stronger purpose, leading a more sufficient life. And this whole idea that unless you can take care of yourself, you're very rarely in a position to take care of others. Mm. And COVID is now a health crisis and a survival crisis. The environment crisis has been an opt-in crisis. Mm. You know, you've been able to have your oil and gas job and be an executive and drive a Ferrari. And, you know, in many parts of the world, society look at you with awe and you know, a wish that I'd like to be like that guy. Mm. Times have changed. Mm. And the environmental crisis, although it still is our number one problem, it's our own planetary survival, it's our own humanity survival, that has been greenwashed largely out of the picture as much as possible. Mm. It's been about economic growth as we know it will cost. Mm. But for every economic strategy, it's always been linear. It's not a circular strategy. So of course the world is finite and we know that we're already running out of so many things. Fresh air, fresh water, clean oceans, not to mention food and resources and all that stuff that goes with it. So we're at that tipping point. So for us, now focusing on health, focusing on COVID, focusing on respect for other people, distance, cleanliness, washing hands, then leads into and ties into self-sufficiency. There's suddenly an interest in growing your own vegetables. I don't want to go to the supermarket and see 100 people every 2 days, like perhaps people would normally do. Go buy fresh bread, go buy fresh milk. You don't need the fresh milk. Your vegetables you can grow in your house. Doesn't matter if you're in an apartment or have a terrace or have a garden. Microgreens take 10 days to produce. So from today, you could be eating your own produce if you're not making stuff at home within 10 days. You know, the old story of, you know, how do you make a man survive? You obviously give him a fish, he eats for a day, you give him a hook. In the old days, you could fish for life. Well, today there's no fish in the ocean, so that's maybe not quite the perfect analogy, but...
we need to come up with a new one.
You teach people with self-sufficiency.
Give people a webcam and they can get someone to send them money that can buy fish. Maybe that's the new hook.
That's quite possible, yeah.
Well, look, I've actually got to jump, but I wanted to say thank you for you joining Nick. Nick from Ibiza with quite a purposeful and exciting business. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Martin, nice to see you. Thanks for sharing your entrepreneurial journey from Hong Kong. And Alex, always a pleasure to see you. I'm always proud to be an investor in your business and proud to support what you're doing. Love your updates, love to see what you're doing. So thanks for jumping on this morning and joining us from Silicon Valley. So I want to say thanks for joining, guys, and thanks to my audience for joining the channel this morning as well. But I hope you guys can all join again. And yeah, thanks guys for coming on Zoom this morning and sharing your insights.
Great, thank you so much, man.
All right.
Nice to be here.
See you guys. Take care, man.
Bye-bye. Take care.
That's it, guys. That's a wrap. Yes, that's a wrap. Alright, that's it, YouTube. I'm closing off. You guys have any final questions before I go? Feel free to ask. Thanks for tuning in. Every morning, 8 AM, I will be talking to entrepreneurs. They will share their stories. We will try to help them. If you find this broadcast interesting, please join me tomorrow morning at 8 AM. Equally, if you want to come on the show, please feel free to join up on my website, simonsquibb.com. Let me know what you're up to, and I'll try to get you on. And yeah, please comment if you have any questions about any of the guests today, or you want to know anything from any of the guests today, or want to connect and help any of the guests today. Let me know.